Let me tell you about Marco Reyes, 36 years old. Head of International Brand Strategy at Luma Consumer Goods, a mid-sized lifestyle brand selling premium skincare, wellness products, and home fragrance across North America. Good products, strong margins, loyal customers, and absolutely zero international trademark protection. Marco knew this because international trademark protection was his job. For 4 years he had been building Luma's global expansion strategy, market entry analysis, regulatory compliance, distributor relationships, and the intellectual property groundwork that made entering a new country something other than a legal catastrophe. He had identified 31 priority markets across Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America. Mapped the trademark filing requirements in every one. Built the filing calendar, the budget model, the legal vendor shortlist. Presented the full strategy to the board in January. The board nodded. Said they'd circle back. They never did. Because in March, Luma's new CFO, Stephen Park, imported from a private equity firm with a mandate to eliminate redundancy, looked at Marco's compensation, looked at the expansion timeline, and decided Luma didn't need a head of international brand strategy right now. They needed margins. You're too expensive for where we are in the growth cycle, Stephen told Marco in a 15-minute video call. No severance negotiation. No transition period. No acknowledgement of 4 years. Just a calendar invite, a script, and a Slack message from IT asking for his equipment back. What Stephen did not know was that Marco had spent 4 years studying international trademark law in 31 countries. And that trademark filings, in most jurisdictions, were public record. And that the window between company identifies a priority market and company files for trademark protection was exactly the kind of gap that a knowledgeable, motivated, recently unemployed person could walk right through, legally, cleanly, in 31 countries. Before Luma did. This is the story of how one cost-cutting decision became the most expensive intellectual property mistake in Luma's history, and how the man they called too expensive made himself the only person who could unlock their entire international future. Buckle up, because this twist was filed in triplicate. In 31 languages. It started the night of Marco's termination. He sat at his kitchen table with his personal laptop, never company property, and opened a folder he had built over 4 years. 31 countries. Trademark filing requirements, costs, and priority claim windows for each. He had built it for Luma, but the knowledge was his. Marco was not impulsive. He had not stormed out of the video call, had not sent an angry email. He had simply thanked Stephen, closed his laptop, and spent 3 hours thinking carefully about what he knew, what he was legally permitted to do with it, and what the consequences might look like from every angle. By midnight, he had made 2 decisions. First, he would file trademark applications for the Luma brand name and logo in all 31 priority markets, as an individual, through a holding company he would establish for that purpose. Second, he would do it entirely within the law. No stolen documents, no proprietary information, no breach of his employment agreement. Just public trademark filing processes, available to any individual in any country, using knowledge he had developed through 4 years of professional expertise that Luma had just decided wasn't worth paying for. He called his attorney the next morning. Rachel Kim, intellectual property specialist, 15 years in international trademark law. I want to file trademark applications in 31 countries, Marco said. For a brand name that currently has no international trademark protection. Whose brand? Rachel asked carefully. My former employers, Marco said. They terminated me yesterday. No international filings exist. I want to file as an individual through a holding company. Rachel walked him through his employment agreement. Standard IP assignment clause. Covered work product created during employment using company resources. Not knowledge or expertise developed professionally. Not independent filings made after termination. Non-compete. Limited to direct employment at competing consumer goods companies within North America for 12 months. Nothing about international trademark filings. Rachel was quiet. This is one of the most aggressive legal strategies I've encountered in 15 years, she said. Is it legal? Marco asked. Trademark rights in most of your target jurisdictions go to the first filer, not the first user, Rachel said. If Luma hasn't filed, public record confirms they have US, Canada, and UK registrations, Marco said. Nothing else, Rachel exhaled. Then yes, she said. It's legal, it's aggressive. And it's going to be very expensive for your former employer to resolve. I know, Marco said. How quickly can we move? Now, if you believe that expertise, once earned, belongs entirely to the person who built it, subscribe to Tangled Stories. I'm Brett. Around here, the most expensive mistakes are always the ones that seem like savings. Marco established Reyes Brand Holdings LLC within 72 hours. Rachel's firm filed trademark applications simultaneously across all 31 markets, prioritizing jurisdictions with the fastest processing windows and the strongest first-to-file systems. The filings covered the Luma brand name, the stylized logo, and 3 product category classifications covering every line Luma currently sold or had publicly indicated plans to sell. Total filing cost, $94,000. Marco funded it from savings. He considered it an investment. Filings complete. 3 weeks after termination. He told no one at Luma. He didn't need to. The applications were public record. Anyone who looked would find them. Luma, having just eliminated the person whose job it was to look, was not looking. Luma's international expansion did not slow after Marco's termination. Stephen Park, having eliminated redundancy, presented the board with a leaner cost structure and international market entry beginning in Q3. He hired a junior brand manager to coordinate the expansion. 2 years of experience, genuine enthusiasm, zero knowledge of international trademark law. She was handed Marco's strategy document from the company's server and told to begin execution. She started with European markets. Engaged a trademark firm in London, the firm ran preliminary clearance searches and found Reyes Brand Holdings, LLC. The junior brand manager brought the results to Stephen. Stephen's face, by multiple accounts, went through several distinct phases. Confusion, comprehension, and the specific dread of a man who had just understood the full cost of a 15-minute video call. He called General Counsel Andrea Moss immediately. Andrea pulled all 31 filings. Reyes Brand Holdings, LLC, established 3 days after Marco's termination. Filed across every priority market, every product category, every brand element. She called outside IP counsel. Outside counsel confirmed. In first-to-file jurisdictions, the majority of Luma's 31 markets, the applications, once granted, would give Reyes Brand Holdings legal right to use the Luma brand name in those countries. Luma could challenge the filings, but only by proving bad faith, that Marco had filed specifically to extract payment, rather than as a genuine commercial exercise, a high bar. And Marco had been meticulous. Legitimate holding company, filed after termination. Public information only, no buyout demand, no public statement. No contact with Luma whatsoever. Right now, outside counsel told Andrea, he's a private individual who filed trademarks in countries your client chose not to. The bad faith argument is weak. Andrea walked back to Stephen's office. We need to talk about Marco Reyes, she said. Board Chair Patricia Lowe, 22 years in consumer goods, built and sold 2 brands, called an unscheduled meeting after Andrea's briefing. She looked at the filing summary. 31 countries, every priority market. She looked at Stephen. What was his total compensation? She asked. Stephen told her. And our legal budget to challenge 31 filings across multiple jurisdictions. Andrea's conservative estimate, $2.8 million minimum, over 2 to 3 years, no guaranteed outcome. Stephen, Patricia said, we eliminated someone whose expertise was worth considerably more than his salary, with no transition plan, no knowledge transfer, and no awareness that he could walk out the door and use everything he knew in a way we couldn't stop. She looked at the 5-year international revenue projection. $340 million. Our $340 million international expansion, Patricia said quietly, is currently sitting behind 31 trademark filings owned by the man we let go to save money. The room was very quiet. Andrea, Patricia said. Reach out to Marco. Today. Andrea called on a Tuesday afternoon. I think you know why I'm calling, Andrea said. I prefer to hear it from you, Marco said. She told him. The filings, the expansion plans. The board's position. Marco listened without interrupting. I filed those trademarks legally, he said, using expertise I developed over 4 years. I have no obligation to transfer them. But I'm open to a conversation. What would that conversation look like? Andrea asked. It would start with Luma acknowledging what those filings represent, Marco said. 4 years of expertise called too expensive in a 15-minute video call. I'll convey that to the board, Andrea said. Marco's terms, delivered through Rachel, were precise. 1. A licensing agreement granting Luma exclusive use of the trademarks in all 31 jurisdictions, structured as a long-term commercial license. 2. Licensing fees of 1.2% of net international revenue, paid quarterly, audited annually. 3. a consulting agreement as international brand strategy advisor at $280,000 annually with a 5-year term. 4. A formal board acknowledgment that his termination was inconsistent with the company's strategic interests, and that his expertise had been materially undervalued. 5. First right of refusal if Luma chose to acquire the trademarks outright. Luma's outside counsel reviewed the terms, then reviewed the alternative. $2.8 million in legal fees, delayed expansion, uncertain outcome, public dispute with a former employee. The board met for 40 minutes. Patricia called the vote, unanimous. Marco signed on a Friday morning. The 1.2% licensing structure, based on Luma's own 5-year projections, was expected to generate between $4 million and $6 million over the term. The consulting agreement restored his professional relationship at a level that reflected what the role had always actually been worth. The board acknowledgment, 3 sentences, signed by Patricia Lowe, said, Marco Reyes developed the international expansion strategy that forms the foundation of Luma's global growth plan. His termination was inconsistent with the company's strategic direction. His expertise was materially undervalued. Marco kept it in a folder. Same folder as 31 trademark filing confirmations. Stephen Park left Luma 8 months after Marco's return. The junior brand manager who found the EU filings was promoted to international brand coordinator, working directly under Marco's advisory structure. She turned out to be exceptionally good once someone actually taught her what she needed to know. Luma's international expansion launched 1 quarter behind the original schedule, but fully protected and legally sound. By year 2, international revenue represented 22% of total company sales. The 1.2% licensing fee generated $1.4 million that year alone. Patricia Lowe referenced the situation, without names, at an industry conference the following spring. The most expensive people in your organization are rarely the ones with the biggest salaries. They're the ones whose departure creates a problem you didn't know you had until they were already gone. Marco was not in the audience. He was in Singapore, meeting with Luma's new regional distributor, building the international infrastructure he had always planned to build, just with a better title and a percentage. And that, my friends, is how one man turned a 15-minute termination call into a multi-million-dollar licensing agreement, without a lawsuit, without a leak, and without once doing anything other than exactly what he was qualified to do. Because some companies think expertise is a line item, and some people know it's an asset, Marco knew. He just filed it in 31 countries before anyone noticed. If this story lit up your justice receptors, subscribe to Tangled Stories, drop a like, and share this with anyone who has ever been told they were too expensive. Because here, every story has a twist, and sometimes that twist is registered in 31 jurisdictions. I'm Brett, and I'll see you in the next one.